Welcome everybody to Zeta Global Radio's honoring of the Mother Earth, of planetary mindfulness through this powerful project that we've all assembled and come together, Music to Heal the Earth. I am your host, Lainie Sevante Wulkan, and today I'm so honored to be joined by Aaron Taylor, who is not only the executive producer of We Know Not What We Do, the original climate change documentary film that has inspired Music to the Earth, but he's also the executive producer on this incredible project that we're all coming together for. And today, we're not only going to share a story about Aaron and his film and this wonderful project, but also to honor Ali MacGraw, an incredible icon who has also given up her time to spend with Howard Wulkan, our producer of ZGR, as well as Music to the Earth, and share her passionate plea for all of us to come forward and do something for planetary mindfulness. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Aaron Taylor. I think we did an Earth Day show a couple years ago with you and Elizabeth Galen Baker, who wrote and directed the film. So for those of you who are new to Music to the Earth, who are new to We Know Not What We Do, I thought you would be the perfect person to maybe give them a backstory on the coming together, which brings us full forward to now having someone like Ali MacGraw. And of course, last week, everybody heard David Abrazizi, formerly of Pearl Jam, and actress Serinda Swan. Many people are resonating to this project, and of course, our upcoming release next month. So let's let them hear from you, the producer, a little bit about your film, and then we'll get into Music to Heal the Earth.
Absolutely. Well, We Know Not What We Do started in 2013, when my family and I had just moved to Rio Rancho, which is a sort of a suburb of Albuquerque. We had moved there from Farmington, New Mexico. I was at a crossroads in my life, wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I thought maybe I would just do some auditions and try to do some acting. And then my wife, actually, we went on a date one time, and she said, if you're going to try to work in the film industry, then why don't you make films? And if you're going to make films, you should make films that matter. Literally within about 3 to 4 weeks, I had met Elizabeth Galen Baker, because I had literally zero contacts in the industry. And I found her online, and I said, hey, I want to make a film about climate change from a spiritual and faith perspective. And let's just get together and talk about it. She's like, I don't want to talk about it. I want you to hire me. Very bold and direct. And within just a few weeks from that, I am in the Appalachian mountain range with a woman I had just met.
Wow. I didn't even know some of this story.
Yeah, and we are tracking the story of mountaintop removal and Peter Illen and his work there, taking Christian college students, doing health surveys of people getting cancer because of them removing the coal industry, digging up mountains for 6 inches of coal and then burying the debris in the streams. That is how it all got started. And over the next year and a half, really, it all took place in about a year. Most of the shooting, we went up to Kivalina, Alaska, and saw how the traditions that the people had been doing for thousands and thousands of years were failing them because the sea ice was being lost, and they couldn't store their seals as long as they could before, and how the whole town is being threatened by sea level rise. We met people like Steve Anderson, who's a former brigadier general over combat operations in Iraq in 2006, talking about how our dependence on the oil industry is killing U.S. soldiers in Iraq. We were trying to come at it from so many different ways to where we could show that, climate change isn't just a liberal issue or a partisan issue. It is a moral issue, and it affects people of all faiths and backgrounds.
Amen.
And really the capstone of that, which is really the last half hour of the film, was showing really the struggle against the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah.
And how that brought cowboys and Indians together. I grew up, I'm a child of the 80s in the Midwest, like those kids in Stranger Things. I grew up playing cowboys and Indians, and the Cowboys were the good guys. But this was just amazing to see cowboys and Indians and people from conservative religious backgrounds, from a more, oneness, spiritual, religious backgrounds, coming together and saying, we've got to fight for our water. And that's really what We Know Not What We Do shows. Because I come from actually a more conservative background, and Elizabeth's is a bit more of a generalist spiritual background, yet we were able to, through our creative process, going back and forth, create something that we felt could actually be universal and try to speak to people from all sides.
Well, what you're saying completely hits the nail on the head in terms of this message of oneness and bypassing color and skin. And of course, we're going to hear Ali's wonderful, heartfelt, passionate speech today, even talking about that same concept of oneness in her words, and what you're saying about the film. And of course, what's now rolled into Music to Heal the Earth is also about oneness. Here we have an album that is an eclectic group of songs, so diverse, yet all woven together for the same purpose. And of course, you're discussing climate change. We are invoking the essence of planetary mindfulness, because I'd love for you to share sort of, or at least I know the story as well, about how climate change, as time has gone on, is suddenly having a little bit of a stigma of a name, where some people kind of, it's gotten political, where it once wasn't. So people shy away from it, and we felt to do that. Although it is about climate change, it is about planetary mindfulness, it is about oneness, but we have you experienced that, and you feel that way as well with this, where things have gone that way? I mean, that's, to me, it's become a political name, a token name that feels political.
Well, absolutely. Well, the research that I did on it, the story, the general story goes like this, is that for a long time, scientists were using the term global warming, and they still are, and that there was a political strategist named Frank Luntz who basically issued a memo to the Republican Party saying, one, hey, try to cast doubt on the consensus, and two, that, climate change sounds a little softer, so maybe not as big of a deal. But then it actually kind of stuck, within the climate community. But that, over the years, I've heard people in the environmental community or the science community saying, hey, let's talk about climate disruption. Or even Catherine Hayhoe, who is in our film, said, she talks about instead of global warming, global weirding, and how all these weird things are happening to our climate. And it's, of course, because the globe is warming and because the climate is changing. And that's why things are growing in weird places. And that's why we have dead trees in Colorado for longer than usual, and why we have all these sea level rise and more.
Or red tide invasions. I mean, we're having the perfect storm between bacteria and red tide and the sea creatures. I mean, it's just, I'm watching it here and just, praying every day, please, Lord, somehow we need to make a difference here. I'm watching these animals, coming right up to shore, and it's just, it's just a sample of what you're sharing, what you absolutely showed in the film, but you also showed it in a way that we can come together and make a difference if we just take that moment to acknowledge that we are the ones who can make the difference.
Mary Pfeiffer speaks to both of these issues, both the interconnectivity and this issue of climate change. She says interconnectivity is a spiritual fact, but it's also a scientific fact. And that's being proven true Anybody that knows anything about physics knows that there's a sense in which we're all connected on a scientific level. And she also talks later about this idea of climate change. She says that crazy issue has kept this country mired in a debate for 30 years. But when it comes to the Keystone Pipeline, they leapfrog right over that issue and get to the direct issue of water, and how we all need water, and how the pipeline threatens our water supply. And you can take virtually any environmental issue that directly impacts people's health here and now, and that issue also relates to climate change. But you can, if you don't want to talk about how fossil fuels are warming the planet, well, the oil companies are also giving people cancer in Louisiana and in other places in much more direct ways.
Aaron, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to visit more with you about now moving into Music to Heal the Earth from We Know Not What We Do. And let's just tell people before we take a break that the film is on Amazon, and if you're a Prime member, you can watch it for free. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Spiritual Communities Network invites you to their 7th year anniversary celebration of the mystical and magical date of 11/11 with their upcoming event, Spirit Con, taking place this year on Pine Island at the beautiful setting of Green Planet Farm and Gardens. It's a day to connect, expand, and experience. Free to attend, enjoy a full day of local and renowned speakers sharing their wisdom of spirituality, mystical arts, and health and wellness. Enjoy readings and a variety of booths with many different products for enlightenment and well-being. Sponsored by Muscle Tuners International, Conscious Shift Magazine, the Holistic Chamber of Commerce of Southwest Florida, and our station here, Zeta Global Radio. For more information, please visit spiritualcommunitiesnetwork.com. We look forward to seeing you there.
In the depth of a spiritual ceremony, the heartbeat of the drum and shaking of the rattle bring you closer to a heightened state of awareness within. Experience the richness of nature's spirit drums. They are expertly and lovingly handcrafted with an infusion of sacred animal spirit and healing energies. Hand-stitched rawhide rattles used in sound healing, energy clearings, and journey work are filled with the powerful vibration of crystals such as amethyst, citrine, jade, and garnet. Purchase yours today by visiting naturespiritdrums.com. Zeta Global Radio listeners enjoy a special 10% discount when entering ZETA at checkout. For our international listeners, please visit the website on how you may purchase Nature Spirit drums and rattles. Muscle Tuners International is a proud sponsor of Music to Heal the Earth, a collection of songs encouraging planetary mindfulness, one song at a time. At MTI, we believe in impacting people in their health and wellness, one person at a time. Discover how to switch on your muscles before you begin your favorite exercise activity for greater results. Better yet, become a licensed muscle tuner specialist and learn our proprietary kinesiology techniques to help others get fitness and recovery results faster. We invite you November 4th and 6th to an Introduction to Muscle Tuning gathering to be held in Southwest Florida at Paradise Wellness and Event Center in Bonita Springs. For more information, please visit www.muscletuners.fit. Be strong. Be confident. Be tuned.
Hi, this is Bruce Lipton, and you're listening to Zeta Global Radio.
Welcome back to Zeta Global Radio. I am Lainie Sevante Wulkan here with my co-host today, Aaron Taylor, executive producer of Music to Heal the Earth. And of course, we were just talking about his climate change film, We Know Not What We Do, which has been the inspiration of this. And of course, you said it finally came out in 2015. Here we are in 2018. And for someone like you, Aaron, someone like me, we've been in the film industry. We're lucky for films to have a shelf life that lasts a few years, particularly documentaries. And we all got together at one point and said, how can we keep the energy, the love, the message, the power of this film alive. And one thing led to another, and here we are with this idea, which is now 2 years ago, coming forward next month, is to honor what we're sharing in the film and honor what we're sharing as a collective consciousness about music to heal the earth, and finding a way that connects us all. And we know that music does it. We know that film does it. And sure enough, because of the grace of your support, Elizabeth Galen Baker's support, our sweat equity, we're all here together to gather all of our resources and connections with some extraordinary beings that have come together and said, we believe in this too. We've had this experience in our part of the world. We're seeing this happen. We need to save our future generations from the same experience. So that's just my intro of it. But I would love to just kind of get your feeling of like what it feels like for you to sign off on a project like this and now see it finally 2 years later come together. As we know, like film, things take a while to coalesce and come into form. So here we are and the album's releasing. So it's an exciting time for us.
Well, I cannot be possibly more excited. And I think one of the prayers or faith confessions that I started with from the beginning, even when in the beginning of We Know Not What We Do, is this idea of God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask or think. And the idea of something just starting out with a documentary film, a first-time filmmaker, but then that translating into a musical movement, because I think that's what we should call this, a movement.
Absolutely.
A musical movement, I think really qualifies of starting out in one thing and ended up being something bigger than what you expected. And I was just watching a documentary last night on Netflix, and it was about how music actually enhances human connectivity to each other, that studies show that when people make music together, that they treat each other better. And what I got out of that is, the name of this project is Music to Heal the Earth. Now, I don't actually think that playing a violin is going to alter the chemistry of the atmosphere. Maybe some people might see a more spiritual connection. I'm a bit more of a rationalist.
Totally founded. That's cool.
But I do think, though, that music can enhance human values, and music can impact the culture so that we humans can make better decisions. And that's what I think this project is ultimately about, at least for me, speaking for myself. And I also think that traditionally, music has been the language of resistance. And I think that if there's ever a time where we need to resist what is happening to our planet and bad decisions being made, that time is now. And
yes,
my ultimate dream, the dream that really keeps me up at night about this project, is Music to Heal the Earth being sort of a cultural milestone that someday people can look back on in the same way that we today look back on the 60s and the 70s and how the folk artist created that language of resistance for the Vietnam era and the things that were going on at that time. We are now in 2018, and the style of music has changed, and the issues are what we're dealing with today about the earth. But we need some sort of cultural milestone so that the world can come together and say, this is the music that's going to drive the language of resistance for this era. And this is the music that's going to drive the language of compassion for us coming together and waking up to our responsibility for compassion, not only for ourselves as humans, but compassion for all of life on earth.
Oh my God, Aaron, I'm so grateful. I didn't even know what to say about what you just said. It was so profound, and I'm so in alignment with it. I think after the 60s and obviously prior to now, what hits me the most in the same exact respect is We Are the World. And for me, when I think about We Are the World, I think we can possibly, through the grace of God and everyone's support, be the next We Are the World. When all those celebrities, Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, the list goes on, came together and said, we are the world, and let's make a better place for you and me. To me, we are that now. And like you said, the stylized music has changed, but the essence and the need and the desire and the passion is needed, and more so now than ever. So let that be the prayer, that what we are doing here, and of course we're just releasing now volume 1, and we've been so blessed that we received so many submissions that we will have subsequent volumes, that we will have the opportunity as this unfolds to have awareness concerts around the world, and allowing these musicians and allowing all of us to gather to create community in the areas around the world that need it. So thank you for what you've shared.
I love the reference to We Are the World. A few months ago, I was reading a biography about Michael Jackson to my kids, and that was mentioned. We are the world. And that was another cultural milestone, but it also had a very tangible impact because money was raised to feed starving children in Africa. Like I said, we're in 2018. The issues are different, but we are literally come together to save the world. And I think musicians in many ways are the philosophers of our age. I think musicians and comedians, but musicians have a cultural influence that politicians don't have. And I think that musicians in many ways are prophets. You know, I would say they're philosophers of our era, and in many ways musicians are the prophets of our era.
Well, not only the musicians, I'm 100,000% in agreement with you. And of course, we're going to take a break here soon and hear from Ali MacGraw, who also has stepped up. She's a multi Golden Globe winner, Academy Award nominee, humanitarian icon. The list goes on and on about the accomplishments of this passionate, beautiful human being who's been here and sharing her thoughts on where we are in the state of the world. And I've always maintained, and I've been in the entertainment industry now 30 years and have worked for some very famous people, and it's always been my passionate platform is to allow these celebrities to bring forward their celebrity power for the greater good. And there was a time where that wasn't the trend. Thank God it is now that people all have causes, they all have foundations, they all have what makes them, well, not all, but the majority of them, or a handful of them are all doing something, opening up schools, creating different movements around the world. And we're grateful for these musicians. We're grateful for these spiritual leaders who've come on this album to speak, to be the voices. And Ali MacGraw, of course, you're going to hear in just a few minutes her thoughts as well. Next week, you're going to hear many, many of the voices of contributors who have been on. We're going to play you, read to you, and also be part of that experience. So we're looking forward to sharing that with you. So any thoughts before we take a break on Ali MacGraw? I don't know how your thoughts on that, and then of course on when we come back after Ali speaks, we'll do a little recap on kind of how we felt about her wonderful message.
Well, I look forward to hearing her thoughts. I just know that here, I live in New Mexico, and here in New Mexico, and especially people that live in Santa Fe, for many people, Ali is not a celebrity. She's just a friend, you know, or the lady that's nice to them at the supermarket. And I think that Ali herself would be very proud of that, because she does have that reputation. I just met someone a few weeks ago that had a clothing store, but it was part of a sort of a charity for Afghan women. And this person's like, have you ever met Ali MacGraw? She supports this project. And he showed me pictures and stuff with her. And that's just the type of person who she is. She aligns herself with just some really wonderful people. And she does not think highly of herself, which is amazing.
Well, we're going to hear her thoughts right now. So first we'll take a break. I just want to also spend a moment here to thank Muscle Tuners International for sponsoring not only these wonderful shows on Zeta Global Radio, but also being one of our first sponsors to come up and believe in what we're doing. And they have a wonderful kinesiology muscle testing, what they call muscle tuning technique, and they believe in helping people one person at a time, and we're helping people, the planet, one song at a time. So very aligned message. So I want to do a special thank you to them and ask you all to sit back and relax. When we come back, you'll have Ali MacGraw. You're listening to Zeta Global Radio. Lainie, Sevante, Wulkan here with Aaron Taylor. We'll be back in a moment. Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare is Southwest Florida's premier holistic and wellness spa to relax and rejuvenate your well-being. Founded by Lucille Trice, this enlightened haven located in Cape Coral offers a variety of massage therapies including Swedish, deep tissue, and trigger point massage. Trice offers detoxifying body wraps and facials using natural organic ingredients to pamper your skin and restore balance and health. Visit their Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare Facebook page or call 239-672-0526 and book your experience today. Mention ZGR and receive a complimentary ionic foot detox experience. Blessings, everyone. Lainie Sevante here, inviting you to the mystical, magical world Tarot Play Shop, happening October 27th through 28th on the beautiful setting of Green Planet Farm and Gardens on Pine Island here in Southwest Florida. I want you to experience, and I'm looking forward to it myself, a total immersion of learning, being, and embodying our divine archetype as shown in Tarot's major arcana. Discover the depth of who you truly are and step into its power. I myself can't wait for this. The event is being facilitated by Teresina and Martin Balkans, the incredible creators of the 5th Tarot deck, which I use myself when giving readings through intuitive wisdom. They are masterful, wise, and will help you bring forward the new you. Consider it a high vibrational take on Halloween, complete with costumes, props, and the feeling of really being a kid again. We could all use that, right? Well, there are limited spots available for this, so register now at thefifthtarot.com, and I'll see you soon. Hi, Lainie Sevante here, and I'd love for you to visit my new Facebook page for my private tarot and oracle session readings called Intuitive Wisdom. That's IN2UITIVE Wisdom. Conscious strategies for manifesting a more harmonious life. Don't we all want to have that? Let's see what's in the cards for you as we look at what needs to be cleared, expanded upon, and evolved. There's a lot to explore when we take a deeper look inside ourselves.
I'm Ali MacGraw, and I'm just a very blessed, very, very blessed woman who lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico with my animals and a lot of nature and some very, very conscious, proactive people. Lucky me. You know what I think is the fundamental thing about being alive now with more urgency than ever, and I hope more awareness, is that we are all part of the same life force. And connection, compassion, and availability to others, whether they're two-legged, four-legged, winged, or scaled, is critical now. Because I believe in the fundamental goodness of the child, who then perhaps gets scared about, is he or she enough? Should I do a corrected version of myself so everybody likes me and I'm that loathsome word, popular? Our essence, right at the beginning, is perfection. And we sort of correct it to fit into our idea of what's great. I think if we can drop that and be very real, not cruel real, not angry real, but say, here's who I am, here's what I'm really afraid of, here's what I wish you would help me with, and here's how we all basically are working with the same rather small list of emotional truths, all of us, no matter what we look like, what we're doing for a living, which sexuality we choose, which color we were born with. And I think in that reality connection, understanding, and I'm passionate about this, that we dare not have the arrogance of saying we are the universe's perfect finished product, because of all forms of life, mankind has made the most horrific mistakes for the rest of life on Earth. So I think there's a lot of skinning back, dropping stuff necessary right now with some urgency. I don't believe in the angry competition school of working it out. I believe that within our microcosmical communities, if we reach out to each other and do the little stuff, not be going for I'm on the cover of, or have you heard my opinion, but to say, how can I help? I think it starts with little tiny stuff like actually saying hello to the checkout guy and saying, how are you, and listening to the answer. My bet is most of them have had a complicated day, kids to feed, financial scares, a bad shoulder, and that the, hey, give me a pack of those as a form of communication is arrogant. I'm a passionate believer that our, how do I say this, our least shiny little selves are our best selves, and that there's huge hope for the planet, for everything alive, for the trees, for the grass, for the water, in reducing ourselves to our minimal selves and reaching out. I see no other solution for what's going on now, because I think somehow in my lifetime, I can't speak for other countries because although I travel a lot, I really don't know, but I feel like somehow America is suddenly, tragically besotted with celebrity and avarice as a measure of human success. And I think we have only to look at the obvious places to see that we've sort of organized our gods around us at the moment. And is that born of fear? Probably. I think that somehow we've been educated to think that those two things equals a successful life. And I don't believe that. I believe that kindness, compassion, listening, and humility are the great, like, starting school kid requirements. And from that, some people might get very shiny because of their talent, or these days I believe it's often because of their luck. But I don't think it has anything to do with quality of life. I don't think 4 more cars and a yacht equals, the definition of a successful life. I think how are we to each other, and to include the catastrophic reality that some parts of this earth are so underserved, and that yes, man did create global warming, and the repercussions in unfortunate parts of the planet where suddenly stuff won't grow, or water is either undrinkable or almost unavailable, that we have to do our little tiny piece for that. And there's another thing, and maybe some people think this is rubbish, but there's a spiritual component. I don't think it's just about suiting up and doing your work. I think we have to take time to imagine, unless we're crazy, that something bigger than we are has created initial perfection, and we two-leggeds have really screwed with it. In greed. Like, ooh, I got more. My hamburger meat is better because we clear-cut the rainforest so that these poor animals can be slaughtered for our fast hamburger. That we have built horrible housing for people, never imagining if we would like to live there. at the edge of the freeway in cardboard housing around the planet. No, we wouldn't. So what gives us the right to say, this is where you're going to live? This is where you tribes who've had your hearts and souls connected to the land have been moved so that we could, ravage the minerals there. And then we've had the arrogance to say, you're going to love it. No, they're not, because their ancestors are buried there and they have worshipped the very rivers and pomegranates or wheat that have grown for centuries and have been part of their spiritual program. I mean, I'm heartbroken because I have, like most of us, I have one son and his wonderful wife and my little grandson, and every time I see something magical like this garden, how many times can we take this for granted that we can say to our kids, listen, I'm busy right now, go out and find something to play with. And that's our responsibility. I'm a grown-up now, and I'm responsible for making that part of everyone's right. Every raccoon, every goldfish, every salmon swimming upstream, I'm connected to them. I'm responsible for them. So that's just how I feel.
The Holistic Chamber of Commerce in Southwest Florida now has chapters in Cape Coral, Fort Myers, and Naples. If you have a holistic business or practice and want to network with like-minded beings in the medical and healing arts, natural and eco-living and spiritual communities, you're welcome to come to a meeting and see what we're all about. For more information, please visit www.holisticchamberofcommerce.com and select your nearest city. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Spirits Row and Unity Church of Bonita Springs are proud to be back this November 3rd for their Psychic Fair featuring many of Southwest Florida's best healers, psychic merchants, and artists. The full day 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. event will offer a variety of spiritual awareness, health and wellness specialists, readers, products and services to lift and expand you into greater possibilities for living. Arrive early and reserve your reading with your favorite spiritual advisor. The cost is only $5 to attend, and all proceeds will benefit Unity's Children Outreach Programs. For more information, please find us on Facebook at Spirits Row. We look forward to seeing you there.
Isla Mujeres is a Caribbean jewel off the coast of Cancun. Castilito del Caribe warmly invites you to enjoy our spectacular oceanfront villa located in the heart of El Centro and a short walk to Playa Norte, which is ranked one of the top 10 beaches in the world. With an ocean view of crystal clear turquoise waters overlooking both the Caribbean and Cancun city skyline, we offer a fabulous location for you to enjoy all the peace and tranquility you're looking for on vacation, while also taking in all the excitement the island has to offer, with activities either in walking distance or a golf cart day excursion away. Please visit CastilitoCaribe.com, www.CastilitoCaribe.com, and be sure to mention ZGR to receive a complimentary round-trip airport transfer for up to 4 people. We look forward to seeing you soon.
I've been very blessed. I was born with wonderful parents, artists, but we had no money. And then I fell into this surprise job to my stunned amazement after working normal jobs from 14 on, like we all did, with a total understanding that in family we all contribute something. Might be babysitting, might be doing the dishes, might be understanding that we had to do the vacuuming because our parents were trying to make enough money to get us sneakers or braces or something. And I think this sudden obscene obsession, and I really have to fault our media with this one, because the media, in its desperate interest to not pay writers, has launched this reality garbage, and it is garbage, on these massive hundreds of cable networks, which have created false gods, because Suddenly someone with absolutely no apparent gift, which may show up later, but at the moment the new word is millionaire, except that now, in my lifetime, the new word is billionaire. It's just shocking, and even trillionaire. And that does not define a wonderful member of the human race. Some of them are, and some of them are chasing that stuff that is, eliminating the greatest strength our country had, which was our middle class. Our middle class were honorable workers, somehow getting their kids into college if they wanted to go, somehow finding a car for them if they needed it, somehow instilling values that suggested that their children and grandchildren would have continuity and respect for their lineage. And the minute it was all about cheap slave labor abroad, like that doesn't count, like why would you treat people like that? Why would you say, it's so great those sneakers can be made for nothing and sold for a fortune? Aren't you lucky? What about saying to those sneaker makers, I bet you'd like to send your kids to school. I bet you wish they had more than one shirt. I bet you wish you weren't working 12 hours a day and sleeping on cement. I mean, how do we separate ourselves from the rest of humanity? It makes no sense to me. My mother said to me when I was little, and we weren't brought up religiously at all, but she said something so obvious and profound. She said, I think the whole thing is about treating people the way you wish you would be treated. It's so simple. But I extend that to saying treat life as you would wish to be treated. Because I'm a big animal, champion, like everybody in Santa Fe is. And I'll go further than that and say that the plants matter to me too. And the very earth. Sometimes when I'm in an airplane flying into a big city and I see miles of concrete and concrete blockhouses, and I know underneath there at some point, some flowers and probably a little tree are trying to poke into the sun, and I cry. I know that sounds a little neurotic, but I think our planet is hurting. Not just us, that whole ball of earth, ocean, ice, and forest is crying. So I have huge respect for the more they call them, but I'm not sure it's the fair word, primitive civilizations that took very seriously the concept of Mother Earth, Father Sky, or Father Sky, Mother Earth. That's exactly right. Who the hell do we think we are? Now, here's the thing. Sometimes I think we don't listen to the soft suggestion. The great universe taps us on the shoulder and says, excuse me, could I get your attention? Because you're doing something a little off here. I'll be right with you. I'm really, really busy. My nails are drying, right? And then the Great Spirit knocks you unconscious and says, God, I'm so sorry I had to do that, but are you listening? And my hope is, and I think that this project that you are involved with is the perfect model for it. My hope is that a huge number of us are in fact listening right now, and that there's enormous positive faith and hope that a new, cleaner path is going to bind people all over the world, and a ton of them are going to drop into the big black hole. Because we can't go on like this. We just can't. And the trick, I think, is that we have to make sure our kids understand that there is hope. That they just don't creep into their windowless rooms, sit on their freaking iPhones, and hook up in the name of love. They got to get out there and say, I was so excited. There were two 16-year-olds who I adore here, and I was having dinner with them, and one of them said to me, don't worry, we're going to fix it. It was the best thing I've ever heard. 16 years old, like, are you kidding? We're not settling for this. So that I leave you with that. Yeah. Okay? I talk too much, don't I? No, you don't.
Welcome back to Zeta Global Radio. Thank you. Bless you, Ali MacGraw, for being here and sharing that wonderful conversation you had with Howard Merlin. And I have to just say, probably going to embarrass him, but of course, Ali was an icon to many people. And when we were told that they were going to meet up, I said, "Can I join you up in Santa Fe?" And Howard says, "No, I got this. I'm going." And it just seemed like their exchange was absolutely heartfelt, divine. He came home just bursting with pride. What a wonderful human being she was. And clearly from what she just spoke of, it was so genuine. And if we just slow down, I mean, I almost want to calm my breath when I'm in her presence or hearing her energy. And what did you think, Aaron? That was incredible.
Well, there are several things that she said that really resonated with me, sort of speaking my language that I grew up with. She used the language of false gods, which is idolatry. I mean, false gods is idolatry, and how we've made idols of success and celebrity and fame, and how we have
too many cars and boats and all that.
Right, exactly. And all the great spiritual leaders have all said, don't do that. She also said something here that really resonated, and I went ahead and I wrote it down. We have to imagine, unless we're crazy, that something that is bigger than we are has created initial perfection, and that we two-leggeds have really screwed with it because of greed. And that really dovetails with what Richard Cizik says in We Know Not What We Do. And Richard Cizik is a theologian and an activist. And Richard Cizik says, is it right for one species to drive out all these other species? I believe he cites the statistics, something to the effect that we humans have driven out 50% of all the other species. Is that right? And the implied answer is no. And that's because we are created together. Humans were created from the dust of the ground, and that's the biblical language. But it all sort of comes together in this idea that our lives are connected with all other life on earth, and that redemption isn't just personal. That redemption is supposed to impact all of creation. I like to think about it this way, okay. Which is that you look at a car, and you look at all the parts in a car. The carburetor, the spark plugs, and all these things. And if one of those things is missing, then the whole machine doesn't work. And that's really how ecology works. We don't think we need the crocodiles and the rhinos and the elephants. But when those species go missing, something in ecology is missing, and our fate is really tied to all other life on Earth. So we really, for our own survival, we need the plants and the animals, and we need to take care of the whole system.
Amen. That was actually one of the most poignant parts of her talk to me, when she created that oneness energy of the two-legged, the four-legged, the winged ones. I mean, when she really just identified that whether it's an ant, an insect, a human being, any type of animal, we are all purposeful. And I'm really grateful that she shared that. And also that she mentioned that there were so many places in the world that matter, that sometimes we get lost in our own, these are my words, get lost in our own quadrant of society, of life, when really that some people, I think so many people think that it doesn't matter what's happening in the Isles of Trinidad or what's happening in Nepal. That's there. And really, we have to realize this is one planet. This is one Mother Earth. And we have to come together, not just in tragedy, but in positivity. And so we can prevent these things. I mean, we're here on the East Coast just coming out of seeing horrific hurricanes. We experienced Irma in our own backyard last year, earthquakes, fires on the West Coast. I mean, so, in Mexico. So the earth is calling us now more than ever. I know we've always had movement in the planet, but I think she's really getting our attention, don't you think?
Well, the signs are there, and that's like what Enoch says in Kivalina. He says, we're the canary in the coal mine. You know, Kivalina, we are the canary in the coal mine. What's happening here is going to come to you. So that's kind of a dire note when you look at the things happening in the Arctic and how sort of this we're next. But if we're going to put things on a positive level, I love what Ali says at the very end when she's just talking about two teenagers in her neighborhood. They said, "Don't worry, we're going to fix this." And I've never been on the bash millennials bandwagon. You know, I don't like it when people do that. I actually think that young people are awesome.
Yeah, of course. Future generation is what I call them.
Generations, yes. And I think that young people that are emerging really do have a consciousness of how our actions impact the planet. And I think that we're going to see some realignment in our social values because of that.
No doubt. And with Music to Heal the Earth, this is a collective album that we hope millennials, baby boomers, seniors, and everybody of all generations embrace. There's something for everyone, and we're so delighted that you are listening to the show. Hopefully you'll go back and listen to the show with Dave Abrazizi and Serinda Swan. And next week, we're so grateful to then now bring you sort of the next part 3 of this. And I'm thrilled to say that Aaron Taylor will be back with us. We're going to talk about the voices, more than one. We have many voices. Thank you, Ali MacGraw. And we also have many thought leaders, spiritual leaders, different people from around the world. Some of them you know very, very well, who've come together to give their quotes, their thoughts on what we're doing as a collective project here with Music to the Earth, as well as their thoughts on the urgency. And I emphasize the word urgency because it's come up for so many people. We do feel a critical need and a desire and a dire, or it will be dire. So we're going to be sharing their thoughts with all of you, and hopefully you'll embrace it as much as we are. And here we are, Aaron, gearing up for an album that's coming out 2 years in the making next month. So any last thoughts on today's show, and then we'll do it again next week.
Absolutely. It's just an exciting time to be alive, because when it comes to moral struggle, what greater moral struggle than to be alive during that window of time over these next 10, 15, 20 years, where our actions are going to determine how human beings live over the next thousands of years. Because the issues that we're talking about, we have a window of time to make the right decisions that's going to impact humanity for thousands of years. And I think that's a good note to think about.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for joining me here today on Zeta Global Radio, and for really stepping up and hearing the call and being part of this journey. And we have a lot more to unfold with all of you. This is just the beginning, as we see it as a benchmark for time and movement in making a difference as those who've come before us. So we thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Howard, for having that wonderful conversation with her in Santa Fe. And we wish all of you an incredible week, and look forward to having you join us back when we talk about the voices on part 3 of Music to Heal the Earth. Amen. Thank you. God bless.